doesn't have an argument, but she's going to refer to me and some of my colleagues.
Mr. Donald,
we were from the Third Reich. This is insane.
You're going to look at 14, 15-year-olds as a bunch of criminals?
You're about to watch Rashida Tlaib completely snapped after Byron Donalds called out the left's nonstop fear-mongering.
Recognizes Ms. Tlaib from Michigan.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I think it's really important. I mean, we're talking about, 700,000 people that live here, and I feel like their voice gets completely just dismissed. And so, if I may, Mr. Chair, ask unanimous consent to enter the record. The Washington Post poll of D.C. residents found 8 out of 8 in 10 opposed Trump's taking over of their local police and sending in federal troops.
Without objections ordered.
I think it's also really important to understand, like, the incredible kind of slanderous, like, defamation. I don't know what to call it. They're just burying Washington, D.C. You just heard them speak about our nation's capital in that way, in a way that I feel very much like that's not what I see. I see people walking around with their families, people enjoying time to see these beautiful, incredible, beautiful monuments and everything. And there's a pride here, too. And so I just want to bring the D.C. residents into this committee, because I feel like they are being made invisible. And this really ugly picture that is not reflective. And I'm from Detroit. I've seen it happen to my city. And it's despicable in a way that I feel like really goes up against our values. One of the things that I know in every abuse of power that, we let President Trump and the administration get away with in D.C., it will be replicated. It will be expanded across the country, and it is going to tear apart our communities. Mr. Jackson, I talked to you about a little bit about this, but I think it's important to understand that we do have a mental health crisis, that we have a housing crisis, affordability crisis. Can you police any of those away?
No.
You can't police away homelessness. And the way they talk about our homeless neighbors is so, no wonder there's violence increasing towards homeless neighbors. I see it already, the brutality of it. When we see housing costs go up, when we see, again, the lack or dismissiveness of the mental health crisis that we continue to grow. And it's not just this administration, and the previous administrations as well. No one has moved with the urgency that is needed. Just last week, the committee approved over a dozen bills regarding Washington, D.C. And, I'm just curious. Criminalize children. My colleague from Boston talked about this. It basically interfered with legislation already passed by the local government. Was anyone on this panel consulted? Any of you? Raise your hand if you were consulted on any of these bills. Yeah.
We were not.
One of the things that, AG, I've been listening to you. One of the bills actually eliminates your position completely. What effect would that have? Completely eliminating your position in regards to be able to do the job that you do to protecting all the families in Washington, D.C.?
We'll start with the fact that more than 70% of the residents of the District of Columbia overwhelmingly voted for having an independent elected attorney general.
That's right.
And that's a recognition of the fact that when an attorney general is directly accountable to the people, directly responsive to the people, we are much better at doing our job in terms of addressing housing affordability and conditions in slumlords, seniors and consumers who are being scammed, addressing the issues that are most important to D.C. residents, because I am accountable to them.
I read wage theft is an issue, workplace discrimination. There's a number of issues that need to be addressed, and they're not going to address that. They want to paint you all as this ugly, dark, all just out in the street. The way it's just unbelievable because they all live here. I don't see it. I don't see what they see. I don't understand why we're allowing that to happen, because I actually think it's going to hurt our communities. People are going to look at Washington, D.C. folks in a way that I think is going to be very painful, but also, I don't know, Mr. Jackson, I heard the stories. People didn't leave their homes. They weren't leaving their homes. Businesses didn't see people coming into. That's what we want in our nation's capital. Stay in your house. Don't move. Don't go anywhere. Stay fearful. It's unbelievable that my colleagues continue again to eject this narrative and this rhetoric in regards to it. But I think it's important, Mr. Chair, just like in D.C., home rule was one out of Black freedom struggle in the fight for civil rights. We can't be passive right now. So nobody over there should take anything we say like so personally as if we're attacking them. No, we're attacking a process, not attacking people here. And I think it's really important. We need to stand up against this fascist takeover. That's not a bad word. It's a fact. And here in D.C. and across the country, it is so incredibly important, Mr. Chair, that this committee does not allow rhetoric that defames and or paints Washington, D.C. in a way that you all haven't really truly seen. You're just reading it. No, you're just reading it or something off of some.
Will the gentlelady yield to a question?
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Will the gentlelady yield?
No, I don't yield. I don't even have time. I can tell you.
Your time's expired.
It is expired. But Mr. Chair, but you all live here, and you're not telling people the beautiful parts that you do see in our nation's capital. And no, it's just wrong how we're doing it.
Chairman, I think it's insane that the gentlelady doesn't have an argument, but she's going to refer to me and some of my colleagues.
Mr. Donald,
we were from the Third Reich. This is insane.
You're going to look at 14, 15-year-olds as a bunch of criminals?
It's insane.
No,
do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you, Ms. Tlaib? Is that what I look like to you?
You're the one taking your voting card.
Is that what you think? Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
No, that's unethical.
I think it's radical and I think it's insane. And I'll respect everything that you say. But to say something like that to myself and a lot of my colleagues is way out of line. It's way out of line. It's way out of line.
Regular order, Mr.
Way out of line.
Regular order.
That's okay. But it's okay, right?
That is not how it goes.
It's okay, right?
You hold yourself accouable before you talk about
Hold myself accountable. Hold your own self accountable. How about that? Hold your own self accountable. How about that?
Free DC and make sure you vote with your own voting card. Don't be giving it to somebody else.
Tlaib. All right, time. Chair recognizes Ms. Boebert from Colorado. Order. Wait a minute, Ms. Boebert. All right. Order. Ms. Boebert.
If you ever wanted proof that modern Democrats have completely replaced arguments with emotional outbursts, this clip is it. Rashida Tlaib came into this hearing already fired up, already angry, already trying to frame the entire conversation around fear. Not facts, not policy, fear. And the word she immediately jumped to was fascism. Because apparently now, every disagreement in Washington automatically becomes fascism if conservatives are involved. That's the strategy now. They use the biggest, most extreme language possible because they think it emotionally pressures everyone else into silence. But this time, it didn't work, because Byron Donalds wasn't about to sit there quietly while she painted him and other Republicans as some kind of authoritarian threat to America. The second he tried to ask a question, you could already see where this was going. Tlaib instantly shut it down. No, I don't yield. Not interested in debate. Not interested in discussion. Not interested in defending the accusation she just made. And honestly, that's the part people are getting tired of. If you're gonna accuse your political opponents of being fascists, then defend the claim. Explain it. Debate it. But don't throw the insult out there, and then immediately slam the door the second somebody challenges you on it. That's what made this moment blow up, because Byron Donalds exposed something bigger than just one heated exchange. He exposed how fragile this whole political performance really is. Democrats love throwing around apocalyptic language because it rallies social media activists and cable news audiences. Everything is the end of democracy. Every Republican is supposedly dangerous. Every disagreement becomes some kind of moral emergency. But once somebody calmly pushes back and asks for specifics, the whole thing starts falling apart. And notice how quickly the hearing turned chaotic after Donalds responded. Tlaib kept trying to redirect the conversation toward how beautiful Washington, D.C. is, how Republicans supposedly don't appreciate the city, how unfair the rhetoric is. But that wasn't even the real issue anymore. The real issue was that she had just accused people sitting in that room of enabling fascism, and then refused to engage when challenged. That's why Donalds looked genuinely stunned. You could hear the frustration in his voice when he basically said this was insane, because it is insane. Political disagreement is now constantly treated like some existential crisis instead of what it actually is, democracy functioning the way it's supposed to function. And here's the irony nobody on the left wants to talk about. The people constantly screaming about authoritarianism are usually the same people trying to shut down opposing viewpoints. They don't want to debate. They don't want to answer questions. They don't want to engage with criticism. They want to label, shame, silence, and move on. That's why moments like this matter. Because Byron Donalds didn't explode. He didn't lose control. He simply challenged the accusation, and that alone completely disrupted the script. Democrats are so used to throwing these labels around without resistance that when somebody actually confronts them directly, the conversation immediately gets uncomfortable. And voters notice that, especially independent voters who are exhausted by the non-stop hysteria in American politics right now. Most normal people hear words like fascist getting thrown around every 5 seconds and they stop taking it seriously. The overuse completely destroys the meaning. When everything is labeled authoritarian, eventually nothing is. That's part of why Democrats have struggled connecting with working-class Americans lately. A lot of voters feel like the political left spends more time performing outrage than solving actual problems people face every day. Inflation, crime, housing costs, border security, energy prices. Those are the issues people talk about at kitchen tables. But inside Washington, you get hearings like this where lawmakers are accusing each other of fascism while refusing basic debate. And Byron Donalds has become one of the Republicans Democrats clearly hate dealing with because he stays calm while exposing the contradictions. He forces these conversations into the open instead of letting emotional rhetoric dominate the room unchecked. That's why this clip spread so fast online. People are tired of politicians acting like disagreement itself is violence. They're tired of being told they're immoral just because they don't vote Democrat. And they're especially tired of lawmakers throwing out extreme accusations they can't even defend under questioning. This exchange wasn't just awkward for Rashida Tlaib. It highlighted a much bigger problem in modern politics. Outrage has replaced persuasion. Instead of convincing people, too many politicians now just try to intimidate people emotionally into submission. But that strategy only works until somebody pushes back. And Byron Donalds pushed back hard. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Byron Donalds right to challenge Tlaib directly, or do you think the rhetoric coming from the left is justified? Let me know below.